Hey guys, how's it going? I'm back here with another video, and today I decided to bring this video where I'm going to be showing to you guys my 3 favorite ReactJS interview questions. Now, I've made videos in the past related to this topic. However, I never went really in depth as I will in this video, and I personally picked these 3 questions because they are actual questions that I've been asked for in previous interviews and are also questions that I personally ask when I interview someone on React. Now, as you might know, most technical interviews require you nowadays to actually solve some sort of algorithm, data structure, lead code type question. However, if you're applying for a front-end position or for a position at a company that isn't one of the big ones that actually require you to do lead code questions, you'll probably be asked some more technical and real-life questions. So my intent is to help you guys understand what kind of questions you might be asked if someone is actually trying to judge your knowledge in React. So before we get into the video, if you could leave a like down below and subscribe, it would massively help me because it would help push my videos to more people. And if you ever want to support my channel, this is definitely the best way to do so. So thank you again. With that in mind, let's get into the video. Hey, speaking of nailing tough questions, a big shout out goes to our today's sponsor, Brilliant. For those who don't know, Brilliant is the go-to place if you're looking for a platform where you can learn a variety of STEM topics such as math, computer science, and data science, where you can apply your knowledge with some hands-on exercises. During this video, I'll be going over React interview questions, but for those who know how the interview process actually works, you not only have to know that, but you also have to be prepared for your technical, algorithm, and data structures interview. So I would definitely recommend that after watching this video, you go check out their platform and check out their algorithm and data structures course, which provides you with the most up-to-date course structure that will help you ace those technical interviews. What's cool about Brilliant is that you learn through interactive problem solving, which is exactly what you need to solve the problems in your interview. Their course covers everything from going through learning the basics of data structures to helping you decide which one to use when solving more complex algorithms, which makes it perfect for anyone who is just looking to either brush up their skills or to actually learn everything from scratch. Plus, the hands-on approach means that you won't just be sitting down passively watching the videos. You would be actively solving the kind of problems that you will find in an interview. And trust me, this is what makes a difference. So with that in mind, I recommend you guys to check out brilliant.com/PedroTech in the description. Brilliant was really nice to sponsor this video and actually provide you guys with a 20% annual membership discount. So if you're interested in checking that out and helping support the channel, you can go in the description and check out the link down below. Again, that's 20% off when you check out brilliant.com/PedroTech. Dive into Brilliant and start prepping for your interviews. Okay, everyone, let's get into the first question. The way I structured this is I divided it into 3 difficulties, as always. First, I'm going to show you guys a more beginner, but also not that easy type of question. It's easier than the others, but it's also one that you could be asked in an interview. And then I would show a medium level one and an advanced. The way I structured it in this project is I just put them into 3 different components, and each of them will have the problem set. And I'll also link in the description the repository with the problems and the solutions if you're interested in that as well. So we can see over here that this is the first question. It basically just asks us to, it gives us this pre-made component over here. It starts with an array called fruits, and it has an input. And you can see over here, this is how it looks so far. Basically, what the problem asks is for us to use the provided input field. And as the user types on the input, we want to display the list of fruits inside of this div, right inside of our page. But as the user types, we want to kind of filter out the list of fruits that are being displayed so that it only shows the fruits that kind of match what the user is typing. So it's kind of like a search filter type question. You're asked to do it without focusing at all at UI, but primarily on functionality. And this is a great question. I was asked this in the past, and I definitely think it's one that tests if you actually know how to build something in React. So let's get into the solution. I'll give you guys some time so you guys can actually try out on yourself, but let's go over it right now. So as you can see over here, the way I would approach this is we have over here this fruits array, I would first just try to display this into the component, right? So I would say fruits equals .map, just like this. And then I would loop through each of them, and I would just return a div, or actually I'll return a p tag with the actual fruit, the individual fruit that we get from here. So I'll just put it like this and say fruit. And you'll see that we are displaying all the fruits. Now, this isn't technically the final result of what I want to do, because since we're going to have to hold some sort of state of what the user is typing and also some sort of state of what we are displaying, we probably want to create a state for the fruits, because this value will change, right? It will change what we're showing in our screen. So what I prefer is to actually come over here and create a use state. So I'm going to say const equals to use state. And inside of this use state, we're going to hold the fruits data, something like that. And then we'll create a function called set fruits data. And the initial value for the state will basically be the array that they gave us. Now, we basically just translated this array that was a constant into a state that now we can change, and it will re-render the page every time the value changes. So instead of rendering this, we'll render this. And right now, nothing will actually change because we're not really changing anything on the state. So now what we would probably have to handle is, how do we create the search filter functionality? Well, first of all, we would probably have to keep track of what the user is typing. So I would probably come over here and create another state and call it search term, because this will represent the term that the user is currently searching on the input. And we'll create a use state, and initially it will just be an empty value. So what we want to do next is make it such that as we type on this input, we're going to call a function. So I'll say onChange, and we're going to call handle input change, something like that. We'll create a function for this. We want to just set the value of this input to be equal to the value of this state to be equal to the value of the input. So we'll create the handle input change function, and it will take in an event since this is an input, and then we'll just set the search term equal to the event.target.value, just like that. Now we can also console log the actual search term, right? Just so you guys see that we're actually getting this correct value. As I type on this, it will actually get whatever I'm typing on my input, right? Which means we're correctly storing that value. However, here comes the tricky part. How do we filter this fruits data over here to only display the fruits that match whatever I type? So for example, if I type the letter A, I only want to show apple, apricot, or anything that makes sense with the letter A, right? So in order to do this, we need to use some JavaScript knowledge, which I feel like if you're at this level, you should probably know, which is to use the filter function. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to come over here and create an actual copy of our fruits data state. So we'll call it fruits data filtered. So it will be the same thing as our fruits data array. It will change and update as the state updates, but it will be the result of the filtering that we're going to implement. We're going to set it equal to the fruits data dot filter, then grab, for this will be a loop, right? So we'll grab the fruit from each loop, and then we have to put a condition over here. This is how the filter function works. We put a condition of what items in the fruits data array we want to keep or not. So the condition that we want to put is that whatever the fruit is, or the fruit text, like the word inside of the array, we want to keep it if it includes whatever we're typing on the input. So we'll just say that we want to keep if fruit dot includes the search term, right? And this will basically filter everything such that these are the only terms that stay in the array. So we'll now display fruits data filtered instead of fruits. And you'll see that, as you can see, nothing is showing up. But as I delete, it will start showing up. But one problem here, which is probably what the interviewer would ask you is, okay, but if you press A, it's not showing apple, but it's showing banana, cranberry, date, dragon fruit, and whatever, right? So what is happening here and how can you resolve it? I'm going to give you a second to think about it, but the second is up. And basically what's happening is if you look at it, this is case sensitive. So we typed A with a lowercase, and apple here has an A with an uppercase, but banana has an A with a lowercase. So we have to fix this kind of sensitivity to it being lowercase or uppercase by turning everything inside of the filtering to either lowercase or uppercase. So for example, when we compare the fruit string to the search term, we want to first turn the fruit to lowercase completely. We'll make it completely lowercase, and then also make the search term to fully be lowercase as well. So now, as you can see, if I type A, it will actually keep apple and banana because despite it actually turning into lowercase in the filtering, it keeps the case sensitivity when it's actually displaying it on the screen, which is pretty good. Now, there are other things that the interviewer might ask you. I'm not going to explain you how to do them because I want to go into the next questions and I don't want this video to be very dragged out. But possible extensions to this problem would be to maybe display something when it's not showing anything, maybe like an error message or saying that there's no result, possibly making the characters in each word that match whatever you're typing be bold, right? So like if I typed A over here, maybe make the A in apple bold, make the 3 A's in banana bold. That's interesting ways to play around with this problem. And as I go through all these problems, I would like to know in the comments below if you actually were able to solve them. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the first problem. Let's get into the second one. Okay, everyone, now let's get into the second question. And this one is a little bit more complicated. However, I definitely see a lot of value in being able to solve it. And it is a very classic useDebounce question. So for those who don't know, debounce is a term used to kind of adding a delay to an action in programming. And with the example that we have over here, what I want you guys to implement is basically we have this input, right? And you can type on this input whatever you want. However, you see this is displaying it should display whatever you type on the input over here. If I were to just display the text directly over here, you would see that it would happen immediately, right? However, if you're working in a project that fetches data and the data is fetched every time you type on the input, that can actually cause a lot of issues because the user might type faster than the data is fetched. So sometimes you kind of want your application to kind of have a delay so that it waits for when the user stops typing to actually fetch the data, right? This is great for when you're working with some sort of functionality that requires auto-saving and for stuff like this, when you're trying to search for a list in a database and you actually don't want to make the fetch every time the user types on the input. So how would we do this? We want to, for example, start typing and nothing be shown until a certain delay in time has passed and it will get the actual value in display. Well, we will use the useDebounce hook that the problem is asking us to create, which by the looks of it, I'm saying as if I didn't actually create this problem. But what I made you guys do is I want this hook to return the text after it's debounced, and it takes in the text and a delay in milliseconds. And then in the end, I want to be able to display the debounced text like this. So how would I do it? Well, I'm going to start by creating the hook over here at the top. So let's create the useDebounce hook, and it will take in, like I said, the text, which is a string, and the delay, which is going to be a number, right? So right off the bat, we have to create a state that is going to hold the debounced string. So I'm going to say use state over here. And by default, it's going to be the text that we receive over here. And we're going to call it debounced and set debounced. Or debounce, I don't know. Let's call it debounce actually. Now, over here, we have to use the useEffect hook that we have in React, such that whenever the hook, this custom hook is created or called, we want to run a function, and the function will be whatever we pass into the callback of this useEffect. Now, we obviously want to call this function more than once because it will actually require, we want to call it every time there's a change in either the text or in the delay of the function. Because as the user types, the value of text will change as well. And maybe we might have some sort of way for the user to also change the delay. Obviously, that's not common, but we want to make such that this useEffect depends primarily on the state value of both the text and the delay. Perfect. Now I want to create a timer inside of here so that we can actually effectively take use of the delay that we want to create. Now to create a timer, we're just going to use the set timeout function from JavaScript. So we'll say set timeout and we'll have a callback function, as you can see over here. And with the set timeout, we can basically call this function after a certain delay, which is exactly what we want. So we're going to put over here the delay amount that we want to have for this function, which will just be delay, which means that every single time I type a character into this input, it will start a timer. When I type another one, the text will change. So since it's in the dependency array, it's going to call this again. So we'll restart the timer, which means that the state debounce will not change until we last type a character in a time frame enough equal to the delay such that the timer can run through and actually set the debounce. I really hope that makes sense, but that's kind of what we're looking for over here. And since we are doing all of this inside of a useEffect, we created a timer, we obviously don't want to create memory leaks. So we do want to clean up whenever this timer or this component unmounts. So what I just want to do is I want to clear timeout and just pass in the timer over here instead of the return from the useEffect. And at the end of this useEffect, let's just return the debounce. And this should work. I hope this works. Let's uncomment this and actually show the debounced text. And you should see that as I type, nothing is actually showing for the value until I give it 1 second between the two characters that I type. See? You can obviously increase the delay to make it even bigger. I can put 5 seconds over here. And as you can see, it will only change after 5 seconds, which seems to be taking forever. But yeah, as you can see, this is what useDebounce is. And this is a pretty good question. I can imagine a lot of people will be asked this question because it shows not only your experience with working with a debouncer, because it's very common practice when you're working with fetching data, but also your efficiency in creating custom hooks that make your life a lot easier. So that was the second question. Now let's get into the advanced one. And for the advanced one, in order to not make this video too long, I'm going to explain to you guys what it wants us to accomplish. And then I'm just going to show you guys my solution, because also it's a little bit longer than the other ones. And I truly believe that everyone can, people can get to very different solutions. People can take longer, make a more readable solution, but also make a more, I don't know, just using those one-liners if they want to. I actually was asked this a long time ago, and I researched this question online to see if people were still being asked. And it was one of the most common hard type questions that I found. So what basically it's asking us to do is to create a phone number input component, which is an input that as you type, it will basically change the input to format whatever number you're typing to look like a phone number. So obviously, it has some requirements, like it asks for it to be a numerical only input. So you need to ensure and validate that whatever the user is typing is only numbers. And as you can see, the automatic formatting is the most interesting part. You want to implement it such that whenever you type the first 3 digits, like in a phone number, it actually puts them around a parentheses as soon as the 4th digit is entered. So if you type 1, 2, 3, 4, it should automatically transform into 1, 2, 3, 4, just like this. Also, after in the 6th digit, you want to insert a dash. So like if the user types 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, when they put the 7th, obviously it should add a dash. So we also require that you just need to use normal HTML, no complicated styling. And to be honest, I think some people might think that the previous question is harder than this one. Some people might think this one is harder. I put this one as the hardest one because it is the one that takes the longest. And it's the one that I definitely took the longest to find the solution. It wasn't that long. It took like 15 minutes, but that's actually what I think usually this really quick React interview questions should take. So the idea is to build something like this, right? As I type on this input, I'll type a number here. You can see the input starts formatting such that it matches the phone number. Also, it doesn't allow me to type anything more because phone numbers are supposed to be this length, at least where I am from. So this is the constraint that I put. I even forgot to put that as part of the rules, but that's definitely something you have to add. So how exactly did I do that? Well, I'm just going to go over my solution over here. The way I did it is we have over here the third question component, and I just returned another component that I created called the phone number input. And I set it such that you can actually take some props called max length to determine the length of your number, just in case like you want to create one for a country who has 9 digits, 12 digits, 11 digits, whatever you want. And inside of this phone number input, I first created a state called input, and I created a function called change input, and I just displayed the specific input over here. Then I set the value for it to be input. I made an onChange function, which is where most of the work happens. It's called input change. And as you can see, it first grabs the target of the input, then it grabs the current value. Then I grabbed the selection start, which is basically a value you can grab from the input, which represents the beginning index of whatever text you select. Then I grabbed the numbers, and I basically replaced anything that is on the input that isn't a number from 0 to 9. And there are better ways to do this. Maybe I used regex. You obviously don't need to know regex for React. I just personally used this for my solution, and I basically prohibited anyone from typing anything that isn't a number. Then I grabbed the size of the number, or like the size of what we're creating. And if whatever we typed is bigger than the max length, we basically don't allow the inputs to change. Then comes the formatting. It's very simple. This is mostly what I think you guys would accomplish if you got to this question, which is I just looped through the string, and on the correct indexes, I just pushed the parentheses and the dashes. I push the parentheses when the size is bigger than 3 and the index is equal to 0, so that we make it the first one, as you can see over here. And then I did the same thing on the last one, right? So when the size is bigger than, I put it over here. When the size is bigger than 3 and when the index is equal to 2, we put this parentheses. And we also made the dash on the index equal to 5. And at the end, I created the difference between the now altered number and the old number in the input. And then what I did here is I got the difference between the length of the formatted with the parentheses and dashes, like the new input that we want to have, and the one that the user typed. And here's where the hard part comes, right? When you're typing on this thing over here, you can see our cursor right now is on this index, right? But when I put the next one, it's we still want it to be the last input, but the thing is, we now just added 2 more characters. So technically, if we don't do this, the cursor would probably be over here, or over here maybe. Yeah, over here, because this is the original one, right? If I actually remove this, you'll see that this is what happens, right? If I type 2, 3, 4, 5, see, it's on the incorrect place. So in order to get that difference and get the selection start, we create a ref to the input and a ref to the caret, which is the actual, like this thing over here. And I set them like this. I set the input ref to the actual input, like I said, and the caret ref is determined by the set selection range function in the input red. That's also why I didn't want to show you making this from scratch. If you guys have other easier solutions, there's definitely easier ones out there. I don't remember how I solved this in the actual interview, but this is how I solved it when I try to make it again for this video. So again, all of this will be in the description. I'm really glad you guys could watch this video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like down below and comment what you want to see next. Subscribe because I'm posting 3 times a week and I would massively appreciate it. Again, thank you Brilliant for sponsoring this video. It really helps when you guys actually go check out our sponsors. So if you guys could do that, so I would be eternally grateful for that. So with that in mind, I see you guys next time.